Okay, 10.1 notes. There is a lot of information in this section, so hopefully by going through this you can pause, rewind, go back. All of that will help you understand this section better. It is very important you get this part. It will help you for the rest of the unit. This second slide is just something kind of for you to go back to if as you're going through the homework or an assignment. Just remember the steps to solve all of these. I'm not going to go through this. It's there for you to read when you need it. Okay, first part. For any of these questions, you need to label the angle and the arc that they're on. Angles that are on the same arc obviously connected. So if you have a central angle labeled with this green line along this arc from x to y, and at the same time you have an inscribed angle at z going out like this along the same arc, these two are connected. The inscribed angle at 43 is exactly half of the central angle at 86. You'll see some more examples of these right away, but here we go for now. The second one, if you have another central angle at O, so O or C will always show our central angle, and you have an inscribed angle at Z, and they're both again along the same arc. So central angle will be double our inscribed angle. So central is double, so 48 is double 24. So keep all that in mind now as we start to go through some examples. Okay, here for these two. Let's straighten that out a little. Each angle you have here is going to be 28. We're looking at the arc from A to B for both of these. So for the first one, you have three angles. A to H to B will be 28. B, I, A, also 28. And then A to G to B will be 28 as well. If you have inscribed angles along the same arc or subtended from the beginning part of this chapter, they have the same angle no matter what. And then for the second one here, A to I to B will be 52 degrees. A to H to B along this same arc will be 52 degrees, and A to G to B along the same arc is also 52 degrees. Now looking at a first example. This part here just summarizes the two things we just talked about, that if you have inscribed angles on the same arc, they are congruent or the same. At the same time, the central angle will be twice your inscribed angle. So keep that in mind as you start working through these questions. Okay, first one. Again, we'll just straighten that out. This one's a little small on your sheet, I realize that, but start by drawing the angle you know. So you know that this inscribed angle, that's not straight, but you get the idea, along this arc is 14 degrees. The central angle at X is on the same arc, right here. So to go from inscribed to a central angle, you multiply by 2, so 2 times 14, X is going to be 28 degrees. Okay, simple, easy to get started. At B, again, draw the angle that you know. So 43 looks like that, inscribed along that arc. X will be another inscribed angle on the same arc. Therefore, X will be 43 degrees. Inscribed angles on the same arc have the same angle. Finally, for the last one in this part, for C, your angle at X is right there. Now I know in class, a lot of you just yell out it's 90 degrees. You cannot eyeball in this unit. There has to be a reason why it's 90 degrees. They will throw questions in where this could be 87 or 92. If it looks close, you have to know why it's 90. If you have an arc all the way around here, and this angle is directly across from the diameter. O is the center, a line going through the center will be the diameter. If your angle at x right here is opposite a diameter, then it will always be 90 degrees. You need to know why these things are. You can't just look at it and say, yeah, it looks like 90, I'm going to say it's 90. Next part. A few more lines now, and a few more steps to solve these now. Doesn't matter where you start here. You can start at 25 or 35. Doesn't matter. I'll start at 25. So the angle at 25 is an inscribed angle along this arc right here. Now y or x, in order to solve it, one of them has to be along the same arc. In this case, it'll be x. So here's x, two inscribed angles. X is 25. Now to solve for y, just erase that. To solve for y, y is right there along this arc. And the angle is the same arc as that will be 35, just like that. So y is going to equal 35 degrees. Okay, B. Again, you're given an angle, so start there. So 35 degrees is right here along that arc. Let's clean that up a little bit. So along this arc right here will be 35. So you have two unknowns. Again, it doesn't matter where you start. 35 is an inscribed angle, y is an inscribed angle, and x will be a central angle. So for y, since that's the one that will be the same, it's on the same arc, so y will be 35 degrees. And then looking at x, x is a central angle, again on the same arc. So now you multiply that by 2. So 2 times 35 will give you 70 degrees for x. Again, hopefully this is straightforward. If you're ever confused, pause, rewind, go back, so you can get all of this straight in your head. Okay, this now looks at diameter again, just quickly to show it. If you have the first Z1, so X, Z, Y, that angle is opposite the diameter, so it's shown by 90 degrees. Then looking at the other Z angle, from here to there, it is also opposite the diameter, so it'll be 90 degrees again. Just keep that in mind as you start going through questions, particularly in the homework, where you can identify angles in that regard. Okay, now we start looking at triangles as well. In those intro notes we talked about all angles in a triangle will always equal 180 degrees. You need to keep that in mind now as you start going through these questions. So two angles defined here, B and A. To start with, we'll look at B first. So B is the angle in the corner there, so it makes triangle. B is not a central angle in this case. I know it's close to it, it is not central, so it makes a triangle. So to solve for B, we'll take total angles in a triangle, subtract the two that you know. So the angle at B will be 80 degrees. Now, angle at A, draw out where you're looking for A. So A makes an angle along this arc. So you have three different angles. You know you need to look for the angle that will be along this same arc with the same two endpoints, which in this case is 52. So for A, it's an inscribed angle, just like 52 is, so the angle at A will be 52 degrees. Okay, next one. This time you have three unknowns. We'll start with, in this case, the only one you can solve for right off the bat is for D. You'll see why in a second. C makes an angle here to here. It doesn't go to an end line. It's not an inscribed angle. You can't use the rules that we've created to find C. For E, it's the same thing. One end goes to the edge of the circle, the other one just goes to the center. It's not an inscribed angle. So again, the rules we've created won't work. However, for D does make an inscribed angle. Both endpoints go to the edge of the circle. So now to find another angle with the same endpoint, we're looking at 98. 98 is a central angle. Just clean that up so it doesn't look like a 10. So it's a central angle. So to find D, take the 98 degrees, divide it by 2, so D will be 49. That's solving for D. And we'll just clean this up again. Now looking at C, you know what D is. You know the angle opposite is 48 degrees. So this makes a triangle. So now to find C, take 180 degrees, subtract the two angles that you know, and you get 83 degrees. Now for your last angle, at E, it also makes a triangle. Actually, we'll do that in blue. So E makes a triangle as well. You know that one corner here is 98. To find the last angle you need, which is right in here, you need to remember back from geometry in grade 7 and grade 8 that any angle opposite each other will be the same. So this purple angle is the same as the angle opposite it, which makes that angle right there 48 degrees. These are rules that they're going to expect you to know, so hopefully with some practice you'll remember it again. So now to find E, take 180, subtract 98, subtract 48, and you end up with 34 degrees. If this is too fast, please just pause this and go back and look at it again and just follow along step by step. Now, last part here for this section is looking at G and H. So to look for G first, angle makes an arc here. G is opposite your diameter. That means G will be 90 degrees. Same based on the rules we followed before. Now to find H. First off, these two lines mean this is an isosceles triangle. So those two lengths are the same, and the angles here and here also have to be the same. So using all of that, use that to find H. To start with, you have an angle on the edge of the circle opposite a diameter, so it'll be 90 degrees. The remaining angles are left need to be split between H and this angle right here at the top. To solve that now, to find H, it'll be 180 degrees, as we've done before, minus the angle you know, and whatever answer you get for that, you'll divide by 2, because that'll split it evenly. So H is something, and this unknown angle at the top is the same. So once you've done all of that, you find H to be 45 degrees. Okay, part 4 here, and again, I know these are long, but you need to see a variety of examples so you can refer back to them and solve these questions. So again, you have an angle at the center of the circle along this arc at 77, and you're trying to find two inscribed angles, I, which is right there, and J, which is here. So I and J are both inscribed angles along the same arc as that central angle. So J is going to equal I, which will equal half of your central angle. So 77 divided by 2. So J and I will both equal 38.5 degrees. Again, remember, in this unit, if you have decimal places, just round to the nearest tenth. Don't round to a whole number. Leave that one decimal place. Okay, next. A little bit different, something you haven't seen before. M and K, we'll solve for K first, because it's a little more straightforward. So, you have 82 degrees, an inscribed angle along that arc. And you have K, which is a central angle, along the same arc. So 82 times 2, K will equal 164 degrees. That's the easy one. Okay, now to solve for M, and I'm going to try and draw a circle as best I can here. It's not going to be perfect, but to solve for M, you need to look at the fact that it makes a circle with K. And we're doing the best we can here. Makes a circle right there. So with that circle, in any circle, the total amount of degrees is 360. So knowing that K is 164, and the total angle in the circle is 360, to find M, we will take 360 degrees minus 164, so M equals 196 degrees. Again, that's angles of a circle, things they expect you to know. So hopefully with some practice it'll become just memorized. Okay, a little bit different question here. Now you're going to start combining all the things you've learned so far in the intro section and so far in this to answer different types of questions. So, circle below has a center at C, has a radius of 8, and FEG, so this angle right there, it's 45 degrees. So the first thing you have to do is find the measure at FCG. So using that central angle F to C to G, it'll be on the same arc as FEG. So if E is an inscribed angle, C is a central angle, then to solve for the angle at FCG, it's 45 degrees multiplied by 2 equals 90 degrees. Now to solve the next part for B, it wants to know what the length of the chord is from F to G. There's no chord there. You need to understand again and remember a chord is a line going through the circle that does not go through the center of the circle. So chord from F to G, you want to know the length of that green line. You just discovered that this is a 90-degree angle. So now you want to find that length, you need to use Pythagoras. The question stated that you had a radius of 8. So again, things that from looking at this in practice you need to see that the length from the center to any edge is the radius. So F to C is 8 and C to G is 8. I know this is a lot right now. With practice you need to get this. This is why the homework must be completed. You need to make sure and check that it's all worked out. So I don't have a lot of room here, so let's do it up in the corner. For B, it's back to A squared plus B squared is C squared. In this case you're looking for C, so 8 squared plus 8 squared gives you C squared. 8 squared is 64. Make sure you do exponents first before you add. So adding them together you get 128 is C squared. To get rid of that squared, square root both sides. And your final answer will be 11.3 centimeters is the length of the chord from F to G. That length right there. So this is the kind of stuff you're going to have to start to do, is combining all the information you have to answer different types of questions. Okay, last two examples before you can start the homework, and I'm going to zoom these in. I know they're a little bit small in the handout you have, but we'll zoom them in to solve. So, for A, you need to find the angles at A, B, C, and the angles at A, E, C. So they're both along this arc right here. The angle you're given is a central angle of 118. So, angle of A, B, C will equal the angle of A, E, C, which will be 118 degrees divided by 2 equals 59 degrees for both of them. Now for B, this time you're given one of the inscribed angles right there. ABC is also an inscribed angle along that arc. So angle ABC will be 61 degrees. And then angle AEC is a central angle. So to find the angle here, 61 times 2 will be 122 degrees. That finishes the notes and all the examples. The rest of this package is now your homework. I didn't expect you to draw perfect circles with chords and inscribed angles and all that, so it's all here. So as you're going through it, right in the top left it tells you page and the number of question you're on. There's differing amounts of information depending on the question. For 8, you're expected to draw the angles and the chords. That's why there's nothing there. Whereas something like number 11, I've included what's in the textbook, and you just need to add in what you need to solve for the missing angles. Please make sure you use different colors. I gave you this handout so you could use red and blue and green and pink and purple, whichever, to identify angles, identify triangles. They'll hopefully help you answer all these questions. So page 383, 8, 11, and then flip over to 384, 13, all of 15 that I've broken up into each part. So B, C, and then 15D, and finally at the end, number 17. Do the homework, check your answers, come see me if you need any extra help. Make sure you have this down pat and mastered.